As a reminder, this is what we're going for.
And we're getting closer and closer. The big question is, can it break an official world record? We're here at the bakery.
And we're starting with this Lynja-sized bowl.
We're starting with some oil.
Next, some sugar.
And a bunch of brown sugar.
Then a bunch of eggs.
Then 5 pounds of sour cream.
And some homemade vanilla extract.
Now we'll lock it into our giant mixer. And then it's time for our first mix.
That's what good cake sounds like.
Now to finish it off, we'll go in with some flour.
And now the cocoa powder.
Now our second mix. Then finally our last ingredient, some steaming hot coffee.
Coffee boosts the chocolate flavor in baked goods.
Now it's time to start baking. We're gonna be filling 100 trays to make our donut. In we go.
30 minutes later, our cake is done.
I got hands of steel. After lots of baking,
we have a Lynja stack of cakes.
I think it's time to assemble. This attempt will be judged by Brittany, a Guinness World Records adjudicator. We also have Dennis, the health inspector, to make sure that the food is handled properly. The challenge today is time.
Nick and Lynja, you have 8 hours to finish this cake, or I have to disqualify you for food safety reasons. I don't make the rules.
You do make the rules. This is the footprint of our giant donut we'll be making today, which if we pull it off will be the equivalent of 1,500 regular donuts.
All the sheet cakes have been cut in half.
But our first step is to cover the base with buttercream frosting. Once we have our first layer of buttercream, we'll start going down with our cake. Each layer of our donut is gonna have 6 sheet cakes. We're gonna be trimming this down later to make sure it looks perfect, but for now we can break off the edges, throw it into our bucket. None of this cake today will be going to waste. We'll be donating all the food through FarmLink later on today.
The first layer is done, and then we're gonna repeat it 10 times.
After chilling the donut for 1 hour, we added the next 3 layers onto the cake.
Just so you know, in order for this to count as a new Guinness World Records title, the donut cake has to be at least 1 foot high.
Let's hope it's 1 foot high.
We're finally putting on the final layer of cake.
But the big challenge right now is that we're up against the time.
We're a little behind schedule and we got 3 hours to go.
Our stencil is on top, meaning we want to carve off this part right here. Lynja's going to be catching all those cake scraps so we can eat those later.
Time's ticking, we only got 2 hours left.
In terms of the stability of this donut, this is where things start to get really dangerous. We don't want it collapsing in on itself, and we don't want it collapsing out. We're almost finished taking out this hole in the center of our donut, but I'll be honest, my arms are getting pretty tired. This is what it takes to get a world record. To finish things off, I'm kneading together some of the cake and frosting scraps that we have, and pressing it across the top, and some of the little cracks in the sides to make sure it looks perfect. Now that it's really starting to look like a donut, we have to add a layer of frosting across the entire thing, but this means we're getting pretty close. The thing that I'm really scared about right now is time. If we don't do this within that 8-hour mark, Dennis will toss the record.
As a reminder, this is what we're going for.
And we're getting closer and closer. This now has to go back in the fridge to firm up before we put the fondant on top. The fondant is what's gonna lay across the top of the donut and make it perfectly smooth. And after we've rolled out our first slice, we'll lay it carefully and gently over our donut.
Wax on, wax off.
Now that our fondant is all laid out,
we're in the home stretch.
we're using multiple coats and colors in order to achieve that classic, realistic donut look. Now that our donut is the perfect golden brown color, we get to do the part that we're most excited for.
Pouring on our glaze.
Here we go. We're gonna go all around the top of the donut and let it fall however it wants to. We also have to make sure we keep this as even as possible, giving us the perfect frosted donut. Lynja, this is probably one of the most satisfying things I've ever seen in cooking. Our frosting is done, and these are the sprinkles that are gonna complete our donut.
They're made out of fondant.
At this point, it's time to channel our inner salt bae and add a bunch of sprinkles to finish it off. I've got to use a special strategy to hit it from the side, too. We've definitely made the biggest donut now, but one question remains.
Is it official?
I can confirm we have a final weight, 225.9 pounds. And that makes this a brand new Guinness World Records title. Congratulations, once again, you both are officially amazing.
And the best part of it all, you'll find this donut in the Guinness World Records book of 2024. You'll be able to read about this record and all the other ones we've broken right here. Huge thanks to Oak Leaf Bakery for letting us use their facilities. All of this food today will be donated throughout Boston with the help of the FarmLink project.